You are about to receive money. God has already determined it. But there is a condition that almost no one talks about, and it is exactly this condition that will define whether you will hold on to the blessing or lose it by your own hands. Stay until the end of this video, because what you are about to discover here could be the difference between a real breakthrough and another wasted opportunity in your life. You know that feeling that something is about to change? That restless, positive energy you can't quite name, but it's there. In the middle of the night, in your prayers, in that moment when you close your eyes and feel that God is working on something you can't see yet. If you are feeling this right now, you are in the right place. Because what I am going to share with you today isn't cheap motivation. It is a real spiritual principle, backed by science, by biblical wisdom, and by situations that have probably already happened in your own life. And the principle is this: there is a silence that protects everything God is building for you. And there is a way of speaking that destroys it before it is even born. Before we continue, I need to ask you one thing. If you aren't subscribed to this channel yet, do it now. Click the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any content like this. We talk about themes here that touch the soul, and you'll want to continue on this journey. Let's start with what hurts. You have waited a long time, maybe years, maybe decades. You prayed in the dead of night when no one was watching. You held on to your faith when the bank balance said there was no reason to believe. You woke up with debts, with pressure, with the weight of those bills that arrive at the beginning of the month and seem larger than your paycheck.
Attention, you need to prepare now. I put together an exclusive resource for those who feel set apart for something greater, but live surrounded by noise, distractions, and mental overload. This is a 30-day journey that will transform your life, a guided path to armor your mind and prepare for what's coming, with daily practices of focus, boundaries, and discipline. Stop negotiating with the noise. Learn to spot distractions before they control you and strengthen your mind. Also available in an immersive audio version. Over 10,000 readers have already transformed their lives through the 30-day journey. Thousands of people have already started this transformation. People like you who were tired of living in the fog, ordinary people who decided to stop accepting mental chaos. Take advantage of this limited time offer only this month. Access your link just below in the pinned comment.
You know the bitter taste of needing and not having. You know the silent shame of not being able to give your child what they asked for, of postponing dreams, of smiling in front of others, while inside you are falling apart. But you didn't give up. You kept praying. You kept believing. And now something is moving. But there is a problem, and that problem lives inside of you. The moment the door begins to open, the instant the provision begins to appear, an almost uncontrollable impulse awakens within us. To tell someone, to show that the struggle is over, to prove it to those who doubted, to scream to the world that God has not forgotten you. And it is exactly in this impulse that the greatest danger to your financial breakthrough resides. Neuroscience has a name for this. It's called the goal substitution effect. Researchers at New York University discovered that when you tell other people about a goal or an achievement that is still in progress, the brain registers an anticipated satisfaction that is as real as the achievement itself. In other words, talking too early about what is still being built tricks your own brain, which begins to act as if the victory has already happened. And then, reduces the level of commitment, caution, and protection you would have placed over it if you had kept it in silence. But science only confirms what the Bible has known for millennia. Think of Samuel, a young man in the heart of Chicago with big dreams and a future promised by God. And what happened when he opened his mouth too early to tell those dreams? His own brothers threw him into a pit and sold him into hardship. The dream was real. Divine provision was on its way, but premature speech cost him years of his life. Now tell me, how many times has this happened to you? You received an opportunity and told everyone before it was guaranteed, and suddenly a problem arose that didn't exist before. Someone made a comment that planted a doubt. Someone looked at you in a way that discouraged you. Someone asked a question you didn't know how to answer, which shook your confidence. And that which was being born was suffocated before it could gain strength. This was not a coincidence. It was a consequence. And here comes the part that few want to hear. It wasn't outside envy that destroyed it. It was your need for outside approval that opened the door to destruction. You still needed someone to confirm that the blessing was real in order to believe in it. And this dependency is exactly what God is trying to heal in you before placing wealth in your hands. Like this video right now if this is making sense to you. That like helps this content reach more people who need to hear this. Let's go deeper. There is a huge difference between someone who receives a financial blessing and multiplies it, and someone who receives it and loses everything in a short time. You probably know stories of both types. In the United States, studies on lottery winners show an alarming fact. About 70% of people who receive large sums of money unexpectedly lose everything in less than 5 years. 70%. It's not a lack of luck. It's not bad timing. It is a lack of character prepared to sustain what has arrived. And the root is almost always the same, the premature announcement. When you speak before the time is right, you aren't just sharing news. You are inviting forces that were not summoned to participate in a process that is still fragile. You bring into your energetic field the opinions, fears, desires, and energies of people who may love you dearly, but who are not at the same spiritual level as you at that moment. Think of it this way. A newly planted seed needs darkness to grow roots. It is not a lack of light that kills it. It is premature exposure before the roots are firm. If you pull the seed out of the soil every time you want to see if it's growing, you kill what could have become a tree. Your next financial level is that seed, and silence is the soil that protects the roots. Now let me ask you a direct question. Who knows about your plans? Who knows the details of what God is moving in your life? How much of this process have you already exposed to eyes that perhaps were not prepared to see? You don't need to answer out loud, but answer internally, because that is where the key lies. God is not being cruel when He asks for your silence. He is being merciful. He knows the people around you. He knows the human heart, including yours. And He knows that certain gifts need to arrive complete before they are revealed, because a blessing announced before its time becomes a target before it becomes a reality. Right here in the comments, I protect what God is building in me. This is an act of faith, and I want to see you declaring it. But now I need to tell you the deeper side of all this. Because silence is not just a strategy, it is an exam of spiritual maturity. When you had little, you prayed with care. Every step was measured. You consulted God before moving because you had no margin for error. Scarcity created in you a genuine dependency, a humble posture, a sharpened spiritual focus. And now, God wants to know, do you maintain that same posture when the pressure eases? It is easy to be humble when you have no other option. True character appears when options appear. Poverty teaches you how to depend. Prosperity tests your self-control. And self-control begins with the mouth. There is a biblical principle in Proverbs 21:23 that says, "Whoso keepeth his mouth and his tongue keepeth his soul from troubles." Notice that it doesn't just talk about guarding material goods. It talks about guarding the soul from troubles. In other words, silence doesn't just protect money. It protects your inner state, your peace, your clarity of mind, and your ability to make good decisions. Because when you speak before the time is right, you don't just lose the opportunity. You open space for anxiety, for third-party pressure, for the judgment of others. And when your head is full of external opinions, you start making decisions based on what others think, rather than what God is saying. And here is the greatest risk of all. You could receive the provision and lose it not for a lack of luck, but for an excess of voices around you. How many people around you have already destroyed a dream of yours with just one comment? Not because they were mean, but because they spoke from their own perspective, their own limits, their own faith, and you listened when you should have guarded it. You have learned, and now you are different. Now you understand that not every piece of news needs to be shared. Not every advancement needs an audience. Not every victory needs external cheering to be real. If you are feeling this, share this video with someone who needs to hear this message, because there are many people losing blessings by speaking at the wrong time, and this content could save a breakthrough in the life of someone close to you. But there is something I need to tell you now, and pay close attention, because this part is where everything changes. You are going to start noticing something different about yourself. Some conversations will start to feel invasive, even if the person asking has good intentions. Some invitations will feel out of place. Some questions like, "So, how are things going?" will start to sound like traps. And you will feel an internal impulse to withhold, to not answer everything, to keep it to yourself. This is not arrogance. It is not coldness. It is not an unhealthy withdrawal. It is spiritual wisdom awakening within you. God is sharpening your sensitivity in the same proportion as He increases your resources. Because whoever is going to manage more needs to discern more. They need to know who to talk to, when to talk, and how much to reveal. This is conscious stewardship, and it is different from living in scarcity and keeping secrets out of fear. Here, you guard it not out of fear, but out of wisdom, not out of shame, but out of reverence for the process. There is a huge difference between the silence of one who is afraid to lose and the silence of one who knows the value of what they are protecting. You are being moved from the first to the second, and this movement is a sign of real growth. I am going to give you now the 3 practical signs that God is sending provision to your life, and that you need to immediately enter protection mode. First sign: you start receiving opportunities you didn't seek. A referral comes out of nowhere. A door opens without you having knocked. An idea appears with a clarity that is not normal. When this happens, do not scream, do not post it, do not send an audio to the family group. Pray. Wait. Evaluate. Move with care. Second sign. You feel a growing discomfort with certain conversations. You are in a circle of friends, and you notice that the complaints, the gossip, and the stories of failure from others start to weigh on you in a different way. This is because you are vibrating at a frequency that no longer fits in those environments. Do not judge these people, but understand that your circle needs to evolve along with you, or it needs to be preserved with wisdom. Third sign. You start to feel that you need to be more intentional with your money. A thought arises that you need to organize, save, and plan. This is not a random thought. It is the Spirit preparing the vessel before filling it. Honor this impulse. Start treating the few dollars you have with the same responsibility you would treat the many that are coming. Luke 16 verse 10 says, "He that is faithful in that which is least is faithful also in much." This is a spiritual law that has direct backing in behavioral psychology. The habit you have with $100 will repeat itself with 100,000. If you are careless now, more money will only amplify the carelessness. But if you are intentional now, more money will amplify your wisdom. And that is why God sometimes delays the provision, not because He doesn't want to give it to you, but because He is waiting for your character to reach the size of the blessing He has prepared. The delay was never a denial. It was divine protection disguised as a wait. Think with me. If you had received 5 years ago what you are about to receive now, would you have sustained it? With the level of faith you had, with the maturity you had, with the relationships you had, would you have kept it, or would you have lost it? Be honest, because the answer will show you why God waited. He wasn't being cruel. He was being a father. And now, after everything you've been through, after every night of prayer, every period of scarcity that developed faith, every toxic relationship that taught you discernment, every failure that gave you wisdom, now you are ready. Not because you became perfect, but because you became conscious. And consciousness is all God needs to trust you with more. Before I reach the final point, and this point is the most important of everything I will say today, let me ask you one last question. Have you been guarding, or have you been scattering? Think about the last 30 days. How many people know about your plans, your intentions, the moves you are making? How many external opinions are influencing your decisions? How much of your internal process have you exposed to eyes that perhaps are not ready to see? This is not to blame you. It is to make you aware, because the change starts now. From this video on, you enter into spiritual protection mode. Not with paranoia, not with unhealthy distrust, but with the serene firmness of one who knows they are carrying something precious, and precious things are protected, not displayed. The wealth God is sending to you is not a trophy, it is a seed, and seeds need soil, silence, and time to become what they were designed to be. You were chosen not because you are the most perfect, but because you persevered when you had reason to give up, because you kept praying when prayer seemed to change nothing, because you maintained faith when circumstances said it was madness to believe. This is the profile of someone God trusts with abundance. And now, the final instruction. Guard it. Take care of it. Protect it. Move with intention. Celebrate in silence. And when the tree is standing, firm, with visible fruit, then let it speak for itself. Because mature blessings do not need an announcement. They are evident. If this video touched something real inside of you, tell me in the comments which of the 3 signs you are living right now. Write 1, 2, or 3, or write all 3 if they are all part of your reality today. I want to read every response. And if you've made it this far, you already know this channel is different. We don't sell illusions here. We talk about real growth, deep faith, and spirituality that transforms everyday life. Subscribe